Hi, I'm Mark Stewart, candidate for governor, and eager to introduce myself to more Republicans. Because there's an interesting proposition in the Connecticut governor's race that the most conservative candidate in 2018 is a Democrat, and that is I. Hear me out, and let my words and eventual actions bear me out. There's no Republican that you hear from now that argues for zero income tax. You didn't hear that from Tom Foley 2 times in a row. Hasn't happened yet in public announcements from the current Republican candidates. I would slash to zero. Corporate income tax, I dropped to about 3%. How can I do that? Because I'm the one person who's vehement at reducing spending. Okay? Don't let somebody tax you or cut taxes but have a high deficit. That doesn't wash. You can only do it by slashing spending, and this candidate would cut government spending in Connecticut by over 70%. We can do this because private welfare works so much better than public welfare. And that's what we tend to be spending on in Connecticut. You ratchet that back dramatically, we have a much better economy. Now, let me talk about the reasons behind tax reform. To cut taxes dramatically is better for democracy. You don't hear that enough from Republican leaders. That a porous tax code, the Swiss cheese that is made by compromises and by, frankly, bribes, by people of influence and corporations that have overly good ties to Republicans and Democrats. They're the ones who, in undemocrat fashion, end up making tax codes that abuse almost everybody else while advantaging them. This is one candidate, yes, a Democrat, who makes the privacy argument about why there should be no tax code. Because we shouldn't have agents following us around, pouring into our stuff, looking and bringing us possibly into court for record keeping that should be our own business. And it's not just the personal income tax. Corporations are scrutinized far too much. They're not doing unsafe things. The tax code is what makes them open. And I refer more often to small corporations, little LLCs that shouldn't be intruded upon. Finally, when have you heard a Republican political leader make the moral argument that I do? I, Democrat, blue, Mark Stewart. I make the moral argument for no taxes because no or significantly lower taxes help families raise better children. When one spouse can stay home and nurture the kids, it gives us such a better uplift than the two working spouse family, which has been pretty much the norm for the last 40 years. I'm also the one who makes the argument for free trade better than Republican political leaders. You've never heard a Republican modern political leader say that trade deficits are actually good. Well, here's why they're good. Because deficits are a sign that we have the wealth to buy other stuff. We don't have to sweat and do it ourselves. And the benefit of a deficit is that we get stuff without giving up. We give up green pieces of paper. How good is that? I run a trade deficit with my grocer every month. I pay him a lot of money. He pays me nothing. I'm enriched by it with the best food possible. I run a trade deficit with computer companies and calculator, Casio or TI. They don't pay me anything. I pay them. And I'm enriched by it. AT&T, Apple. I get stuff. Yeah, it's an old iPhone. I get stuff from them that enhances my life. I happily pay them They don't pay me a cent. Huge trade deficit, and I'm the better for it. So why is anyone offended by a trade deficit with another country? Do they look different? Is that the problem? They're producing stuff that we use. Stop using trade tactics that sound nationalist or just have no economic grounding. When trade is fostered, even if there is a deficit, both sides gain. You haven't heard Democrats make that argument, and less do you hear Republicans make that argument. I continually will.